switch the trays.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Tanisha.
I guess our chairman is not going to be able to be with us tonight, so it was my pleasure
question.
once again to be the referee here. And God bless the secretary for the great set of minutes, because boy, last meeting was wild and woolly, and I deeply appreciate, they're very nice and very accurate minutes. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's about 4 after 5. Could we have the roll call, please?
Gary Libby,
Here.
Vernon Weatherholt. Here. Amy Pyle.
Here.
Helen Humphreys. Raymond Masson.
Here.
William Bittor.
Here.
That's
All
it
right,
for-
thank you. Let's have the Pledge of Allegiance. I hope everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes. I was, as vice chair tonight, going to ask members of the board if we could each take time to do our presentations. Our last meeting, and I got involved in it, was sort of a roundtable discussion, and it made it very tough, I'm sure, for the secretary to get accurate sets of minutes. So if we're all in agreement, we will allow each member of the board to have his or her say, and then if there's additional information or comments, let's try that. It just makes it, I think, a much more orderly meeting. So let us go, I guess, to a motion to approve the minutes unless there are additions or corrections to the minutes as printed. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Approved by Amy Pyle. We have a second. We have a second. All those in favor of approval of these minutes, please do so by saying aye. Aye. Thank you very much. The minutes are approved. I guess we'll go right to the staff report, unless we'd like our police to, let's have our colleague on the police force make the report tonight. We try to get you up early on in the meeting, not that the meetings aren't worth sitting through, but
Thank you, sir.
thank you. Yeah, let the record reflect Mrs. Humphrey has arrived.
I survived. Yeah, it was awesome. Although I'm glad I'm not a policeman or a policewoman. You guys work hard.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening to the board and everyone behind me. Sorry. I am Lieutenant Burns. I've just recently started on the east side on January 28th. I normally work on the west side, so this is new to me, and it's very exciting to be here and hear everything you expect from me. This, for the report, it's for the last 14 days, which included 10 days for Bike Week, as everybody knows. Calls for service were 1,328. We had 243 reports written, 99 citations issued, 37 felony arrests, 40 misdemeanor arrests, 300 FIC cards, 25 vehicles towed, 26 accidents in total, and I'll go over the Bike Week crashes that we had. 4 hit and runs and 6 DUIs, a total of 114 traffic stops. For those totals, there were 6 aggravated batteries. We had 5 arrests out of those aggravated batteries. 1 was domestic. 4 simple batteries, 1 was arrested. 3 burglaries, where we had 1 total of 3 individuals were arrested for 1 burglary. The other 2 are still under investigation. And 1 car break. Most of the activity in your area over the last 14 days was for Bike Week, and it's what we expected for the event. 9 motorcycles were stolen, 3 were recovered, and there was 1 arrest made for grand theft auto. One squad actually conducted a traffic stop in the neighborhood areas where we were patrolling for parking to prevent anybody parking in the neighborhood areas. And that traffic stop consisted of a U-Haul that was empty in the back. The driver had a suspended license and several open warrants, and they believed that he was probably patrolling the areas to either conduct car breaks or steal motorcycles. So it was a really good arrest on their part for that one. There were a few bar fights between Seabreeze and Maine. It's normal for the bar area. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary, and it was easy for us to handle and quell. There were 13 crashes in total for Bike Week in the main event area. 2 were fatalities. 10 were motorcycle related. Of those 10 that were motorcycle related, 8 were the motorcyclist's fault. Most of them were motorcycle versus motorcycle or single motorcycle crashes. And of the 2 fatalities, 1 was a motorcyclist and 1 was a driver of a vehicle. For next month, we're in the planning stages for Jeep Beach, which is 10 days this year. So we're in the planning stages. We'll have overtime units hired for the event area for traffic and events throughout that 10-day period. So that's all I have for you, unless you have any questions.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
How many officers did you have on duty during Bike Week?
The department was mandated. I don't know a specific amount. I can find out for you.
Okay, if you would.
Yes, sir.
Well, of course,
Any other questions? Yes.
I'm in the heart of it. I'm at the 500 Main Street Jewelry Store.
Yes, ma'am.
And it just made me feel so good. I saw so many police walking around, mingling with the crowd. Of course, we never have a problem at ours because when people look in, they see it's a jewelry store. They don't bother. If they want a drink, they know where to go. Curious, do the bars contribute in any way to the fact that so many police have to be in the area? Do any of them actually have security people that they hire that are police?
We do have officers that are hired as details by the bars on Seabreeze. So they will work overtime on Seabreeze. In the Main Street area, there's security hired individually by the bars on Main Street. But 509, Razzles, and Grandview Live all hire officers as detail officers to cover their businesses.
I'm always curious about on Main Street because my business is next to a bar, and of course it is a very, very busy bar.
Yes, most of those are overtime walking on Main Street.
Yeah.
There are a couple that have details for specific purposes like money room, things like that. But most of it's covered by the overtime officers walking Main Street. Yes, ma'am.
It was a very, at least in our area, very peaceful. We have the Christian motorcyclists that run our parking lot.
Yes,
They don't let anybody get on a bike if they've been drinking. They really monitor that
fantastic.
area. So, yeah.
That is fantastic. That's good to hear.
A
Thank
lot
you.
of Europeans were there.
Yes,
And
they were actually.
spend. Yes, they do. Okay.
Okay. Ms. Pyle, anything?
2 things. One, I want to thank you for the way you read those numbers.
Yeah.
Instead of
Yeah.
percents.
Okay.
It was in quantities, and I'm really hoping that's not just for Bike Week, but that's going to continue.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of, it's so much easier to perceive than
Yeah.
a percent over last year and so on and so forth.
I will pass that on. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, could you make a note of that, because I,
Told them that.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
maybe that's why.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was changed now, so I'm hoping,
No, ma'am,
that's good.
okay, thank you.
I think we all like that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then, well, wait,
No.
one other thing, I saw on, Facebook, there was an arrest of someone that had stolen a bike. I don't know if it was a planted bike or what, but, it was a gang member, and I wondered how much gang activity you saw during Bike Week.
As far as the 1%ers, there was quite a bit. There's the Outlaws, which are over on Madison, which we kept a close eye on. And then we have the Thunder Guards on North Ridgewood, which also we had the mobile command post out at the Sunoco right there, just south of there, to keep any of that.
But no incidents?
No incidents, ma'am. No. Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Yeah, there was the Sons of Silence were here pretty heavy on Main Street, but there wasn't any problems. Y'all did your job, and I greatly appreciate it because we really have the best city, in my opinion, in the
I
state of
agree.
Florida.
Yeah.
And, sorry, I'm bragging, but can't help it. In general, I've noticed throughout the years of living here, because I went to college, I've lived all over the country. My dad, I probably moved 25 times before I graduated high school.
Wow.
Yes, yeah. So, what I love most about this city is, we really all care about this city. You care because you didn't join the police force for the money. I know that because I've been involved with law enforcement most of my life. So, I had to say, great job. I've seen Beachside, where I am, change drastically in a positive manner. It was before Bike Week. There was a stabbing across the street from my place at 400 East International. It was across the street. It was right by the insurance place, and I was running off video for the police department.
Right.
What I would like to see from other business owners like myself, which I'm going to try to do myself also, is I'd like to do events that are styled not for money, but to build that rapport with the police department, with our residents, so they know it's not a bad thing calling the police or helping with video from your house. When I have, part of the problem is that if we don't report it and document it and help you, it makes your job much, much harder. So if possible, that's what I'd like to do myself. If not, we can find other people with their businesses and help, because the presence is very, very important in our neighborhoods, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. What I'm saying is just like with this young lady, my what do we say?
Oh, I just like everything you said just a minute ago, but the young lady too. Oh, go ahead.
Sweet. Well, Helen hit a good point. When you have your off-duty officers there, it just changes
Yeah.
people's perception when they come there. They know not to do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a second. It's not a business, but I didn't have time to get people off of addictions, help people
Right.
with addictions. And most of the people that go into my house, like, I don't want to go down the shores because I'll get pulled over. Great. Hopefully we can be that way in Daytona, so they don't want to come here because they're going to get pulled over when they go to rob somebody. So we're doing all these things.
Right.
So I wanted to commend you and all of you and all the officers. You're in my prayers, and I appreciate you all.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're actually starting a thing tonight on my shift. We're doing knock and talks. We're going around the neighborhoods.
Yes.
Introducing ourselves and seeing how we can help out and what they expect from us and how we can do better in their neighborhoods. So we're going to be starting up north, up in the Tanglewood and the Pierce and the Kingston area right now, because there's some issues that need to be addressed, so we're going to get with them. But we're eventually going to make it around through the east side. So that's a program we're going to start tonight, and hopefully it's successful to kind of get some communication between the public and the police department.
Terrific, terrific. Yes, sir.
I just have two quick questions.
Yes, sir.
The statistics for Bike Week this week, how do they compare, like in the past 5 years? Is there a decrease, an increase in not fatalities, but mostly the crime and?
It's hard to say because of COVID.
Yeah.
And someone had asked me that the other night, because Bike Week was so impacted by COVID between 2019 and like 21 and 22. This year, in my opinion, and I don't, correct, yes, it's much bigger than it has been in the last 5 years. And I would anticipate that probably is going to increase as well, since now this is over and we're building up
What
Daytona.
about pre-COVID or your expectations of the statistics?
Well, hopefully, we're increasing our staffing. I'm not sure if you have been aware, we've been short-staffed for for a couple of years now. So we're increasing our staffing. We actually have 20 officers that are graduating at the end of the month, and we have another 25 starting our academy. at the end of the month as well. So with staffing, we should be able to get our numbers down in the future with the increasing, in people visiting the tourists
Thank
and
you.
and the
And one
population.
more, on that note, I've asked this in the past, on the boardwalk and that whole area by the band shell, there's typically not a police presence, or if there is, there's one officer going up and down. Is there any activity in the planning to increase that? Because that's a real hot pocket for everything.
We had 2 officers assigned to the boardwalk on bicycles. There was one, and it would be one officer per day. So 2 officers, but to cover the whole week. So 1 bicycle officer a day. They've increased that by 2, so we have 4 total
Oh, wow.
that will all be on bikes, and they actually have an office right there in the Hilton on the first floor, right on the boardwalk. So you should be seeing
That's
more
great.
more officer presence on the boardwalk with those bicycle units.
And will you assist the Volusia County sheriffs during Jeep Week? Or is that their territory exclusively on the beach? You guys have no
So ours is land.
jurisdiction there?
Ours is land and theirs is the sand, but yes, if something happens, we will cross over, they will come help us, or we will go help them. If they have a major issue, we will go down and help them, just the same as they would come up and assist us on land.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
I have a
Mr. Weatherly.
question. On your shift change, did you go down to the substation and have something to eat?
I did not, sir.
You didn't.
I did not, sir.
I just wanted to ask.
But I know several officers that did, and I know that my squad did. Yes, sir.
Beautiful.
I just have.
Anything else? Yes,
Yeah.
Helen?
I don't know if this is something that you can do, but the person, I haven't heard if they were a homeless person or what, which doesn't matter, but the person who died from getting drunk and then imbibing, suffocating behind one of the bars, since the police walk up and down Main Street, is there any way that they could maybe walk behind? I mean, that was somebody's 33-year-old child somewhere along the line.
Sure, we can
And,
definitely make
nobody-
sure we handle that, and I'll pass that on to the
Yeah.
other shift lieutenant as well. Absolutely.
Anything else, members of the board? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Great to see you. You going to
Thank
be
you.
back next time?
I hope so.
I hope so too.
And I'll find that number out for you, sir.
Super. Let me remind members of the audience, if you're interested in sharing any information with us, you need to fill out one of these forms. Please hand it to the young lady right here. The forms are right there, because we do have a public participation section. Is this board interested in having someone from the chamber come from time to time and share with us the economic impact of an event like Bike Week? Because for me, it's always very difficult to assess the success of our events, the wear and tear on the community that an event like this one does. It was like living next to Niagara Falls for 10 days. Would you like to hear? I know the chamber does that on a regular basis to all over the city.
I think that's a great idea.
I think so too.
Do we need to
appreciate.
coordinate it as a group, or?
I think they have a speaker, they have a representative who'll come and share with us, because it's in our
Yeah, I think
geographic
it's a
area.
great idea.
And I think we might be able to even work more closely with the chamber in remedying many of the issues in the area, because they tend to pop up during these special events that the chamber really manages with the city. I guess it's sort of a public partnership. Is that okay? Could I hear a motion from?
Are you
Yes.
talking about?
I second.
Yeah, I think the motion would be that we would like the economic report that the chamber prepares after special events in the Main Street redevelopment area, or any of the areas on which we are responsible, to share with us and talk about the pros and cons of the event.
I make a motion to have that.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Ms. Humphrey, a second. All those in favor, please?
Discussion?
Yes, discussion, of course.
So, my question would be, is it just after the event? Like, for example, we would have asked them to come now and talk about Bike Week, and then after Jeep Beach, someone will come and share with us, that kind of thing?
I would think that, to me, since we have a huge investment, dollars from the city go into the preparation of these events, we clean up afterward, there's all kinds of involvement of city dollars in these events. I would love to see how we have played an important role in the economic development of this area.
I'm in favor of it. I'm just asking, is it gonna be at every one of our meetings, we're gonna have a chamber?
Well, we could
person?
discuss that, but I think let's do it for this one
Yeah.
first and see how we do and see if we don't, see if everybody is pleased with the payback. Because, I mean, it's like, you know, going to an event, and never getting a bill.
Yeah.
You know, I think the chamber will be very proud to share with us its progress. And they have some very good ideas that for some reason, sometimes don't get to us. And
So
so I,
maybe we do it on a trial basis. to
Yeah.
see.
well, you can
think
call
one
it
time-
whatever you want,
one
but we've got the motion passed, so if after you see it, there's any suggestion of altering whether or not we should have a report on every special event that's in the Main Street redevelopment area,
Could
I
we-
think,
could
I
we
think we could
ask-
discuss that.
Could we ask them just to come and make a presentation next month without,
Yeah.
like?
Yeah,
making
well,
it
that's,
ongoing
I don't
thing?
think next
Yeah.
month they'll have all the figures in. I used to sit on the tourist board, and it takes several months for them to get all of the information, including the sales tax revenue that goes to Tallahassee, all of these things. You know, for many years, we have been topped out on the sales tax thing. We could have an event 10 times more successful, we wouldn't get any more money back from the state. And that's an interesting fact to have as part of an equation. So I'm curious, and I think
And I
other
think
people-
some of us might have questions for the chamber people.
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah.
you know, maybe
Well,
that's-
I would think
could
that
sure
would
come up
be,
with a couple.
if
Yeah.
our
I've
staff
some too.
director feels that's appropriate, I mean, it's within the Main Street redevelopment area.
Well, Mr. Chair, what I would recommend that we reach out at your request and ask the chamber to come back and do a presentation when they have gathered the information.
Beautiful.
Regarding the.
Well, that's the nature of the motion, yeah.
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 Okay, and all those in favor of the motion, please do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, yeah, economic import, I think, the economic importance and payback is critically important for us. It certainly would make me decide one way or another on certain, you know, alterations and changes.
Glad you brought it up.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, and thanks for the support. Okay, we have a staff report. Good evening.
Good evening. Angela Armstrong, the Redevelopment Project Manager for the Beachside. Well, tonight I'm going to talk about the redevelopment project updates, what we have done in this month. That we didn't meet last month, so I'm going to bring you up to date what's going on. So, next slide.
Ooh.
So the first item is Main Street Information Board. If you can please pass this slide. So that is the information board kiosk that is on Main Street. That was how it looked. You all have a
We have.
picture
Yes.
on your packet.
Yes.
We fixed it, we changed the glass, we cleaned the graffiti, and we, next slide, please. And now we have, new information that we're going to update it.
Yes.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Yeah. Well, you stood, I meant to, but me too. Yes.
And we're going to, thank you, we're going to update it, you know, because we have, information events on the Peabody, so we're going to update it as soon as they change the events and everything.
As discussed, as we
Yes,
discussed.
Yes, so that's how it looks. I included a couple of pictures so you can see it. This is temporarily because we remember that our intention is change it completely to interactive kiosks once we select a vendor. You know that we're still in that process. Next slide, please.
I love, that's a very interesting effect. I'm like, it's like a burlesque show, the curtain opening.
So, before, any question on the kiosks?
I should
Mrs.
know
Humphrey.
I should know the answer, but people come in my store that are staying at the Hilton, and they walk in and they go, I can't believe it, I had no idea you were down here. Will the kiosk say business, where businesses are?
Well, yes.
Aha.
Interactive kiosk, the idea is that we can have wayfinder option.
Right.
That if you click in restaurants, if you click in businesses, any type of businesses that we have in our CRA, you are able to find it through the kiosk.
Okay,
That's the idea.
sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure when we do find the vendor, they'll share with us the capabilities of the touchscreen thing. And it's amazing, it's a different world,
Good,
Helen.
good.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to schedule a presentation, with the vendor so you can all know what we can do and what is the intention with the kiosk. But it's going to be interactive, so.
What's the update on the expected time for purchase, distribution, and installation?
Well, I cannot tell you a time because, it's a long process because the amount of money. So right now we need to focus on what we want as a city, what we would want to get with the kiosk. And then we can select the vendor that best, and then we're going to do the bid. So it's a long process, but I'm hoping that we can get it soon. But I'm not going to tell you
Yeah, we
time because I don't
estimated it
want.
would take a year really to go through this process.
Yeah, I don't want to give you a time frame when I'm not sure.
Hopefully this year.
Yeah,
Hopefully this year.
Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
Well, my second item is the Commercial Property Improvement and Professional Design Grant Program. I have included the last slide that I had for those of you that were not here. So this chart shows the current grant that we have and the proposed. The current grant that we have is a commercial facade grant and is awards up to 50% of the total project cost for facade improvement only. Now we are proposing now 80% of the total project cost for facade and interior improvement. The current grant that we have is a maximum amount of $5,000 or $10,000 for multiple storefronts. The one that we are proposing is a maximum amount of $50,000. The one that we have doesn't offer design assistance. We are offering design assistance up to $20,000. No interior renovation. We are including interior renovations, including but not limited to heating, ventilation, air conditioner system, interior electrical system, and plumbing. And the one that we have does not include roofing, and this one will include roofing. Next slide, please.
You can tell a woman had a hand in developing this. Yes.
So these are the updates. Legal department has reviewed the document and has provided back feedback. We have added to the list of eligible activities, entryways, and flood mitigation work. That means that if you want to do work to avoid flooding, you can include those in the grant, and we can help you with that.
And that's a new item, correct?
It is.
We
It
have
is.
discussed that. So if there's any discussion on that, let's hold it back till we hear the additional new things.
And Mr. Chair, just by way of background, Mr. Chair, just by way of background, part of the reason for adding that is that depending upon the property, when you get to a certain amount of improvements over time, you may trigger FEMA-based flood mitigation requirements anyway, so.
Correct. I think yeah, okay, we'll proceed ahead. Thank you.
There is a new provision on funding guidelines and criteria, which is business must remain in operation for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
If not, then they will have to return the money to the CRA.
And share once again who the person that the city will be dealing with is. Is it the owner of the building or the business within the building? Who is the principal responsible for the return of money should a business close? Because you have a property owner and you have someone renting the property. You have two people to deal with.
Yeah, well, depend on the application. Remember that we accept application from the property owner and from the business owner. So the agreement will be with the principal applicant. So if we give it to the business owner, providing that the business owner needs to get the approval from the property owner in order to apply.
Is the property owner ultimately responsible should the business owner leave Venezuela, so to speak?
Yeah, well, the property owner is allowing the business to do those interior improvement, but I'm going to let our legal department to.
Well, I think the way the program's going to work is we'll have to put a deed covenant onto the property, which requires the owner's consent.
See, that's
Yeah.
new.
Yeah.
That's new.
Right.
That's needed. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Yes.
And we also add, as an application requirement, 2 work estimates. Before it was just provide estimates. It can be 1, but we are required 2. Also, on the professional design activities, we have included project budget. So whenever the applicant completes the design, the architecture, that architect or that engineer needs to provide a budget so we can know how much will be the construction. And the last thing is tentatively scheduled to be presented to the CRA board on April 3rd.
Okay. And we have tentatively approved, I think, everything but the 2 new items. Do you want to wait until the full presentation and then the board will have an opportunity to look at the whole package? Because I don't think the addition of these 2 things alter the chemistry of the program, but you might. And so what's the pleasure of the board? Should we wait until the final presentation and then have an opportunity to weigh in before we give it the final blessing? Is that appropriate? It's up to you. Let's do that. Okay.
So the next slide is question. Now keep in mind that if we wait until I provide you with a complete document, I'm not going to be able to present it to the April 3rd.
Would you, well then, let me put it like this. How would you like the timetable to go? If you have items for us that are new that you would like us to consider and vote on, please take the opportunity to do that tonight.
Well, yes, that's why I provided the updates, so you can have a motion to recommend that I present it to the CRA.
Okay, are there anything other than these 2 new items that we're discussing?
No, sir.
Let's take them one at a time. What is the first one again?
Xavier, can you go back, please, to that one?
And
So we.
Sorry, the board will knock them off right here then, okay.
Okay. We included entryways and flood mitigation work.
Okay. Amen. All right. Do I hear
Amen.
an amen? All those in favor, please, let's say aye. Aye. Okay, you have a unanimous on the first one, okay.
The second is business must to remain in operation for at least 2 years.
Amen.
And considering the additional information that our attorney has shared with us about the safeguard on it, I'm always concerned about itinerant vendors who move into a building and assume that they're going to be there for a long time and have a bad season and then leave. So I'm glad the city will protect itself.
Well, as a practical matter, I don't think we're going to be able to enforce whether a business is open 24/7, but if the tenant space is empty, you know, for a period of time.
They're in default.
Then they'd be in default.
Okay, all right. Any questions? Yes, Ms. Pyle.
So if a property owner comes to you and does not have a tenant yet, and they apply for this grant and they receive the grant, it's basically, they have to own that building for 2 years? Or how does it work if someone doesn't have a tenant yet, and we make the improvements on that property and then get a tenant?
Well,
To
that's
get
something-
tenant, yeah.
Yeah, that's something that we can work. The applicant can apply for the grant and then have the tenants, knowing that the tenants needs to get the BTR.
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay.
So yes.
Anything else, any other
I
questions?
have,
Yes.
I have one question for Ben, Mr. Gross. The thing is, so for the landowners, because, you know, I own a little bit of land in Daytona, and the problem that I see is every time I have somebody come in and lease something or do something, they don't quite love the neighborhood like I do at the end of the day. So the safeguard, could it be that, so you're saying we'll make the landowner, what do you call it, almost like a lien if something goes wrong?
Yes.
Like a lien on the property?
Put a
Yeah.
lien on the property.
That's safe.
For the
That's safe.
amount
This
of
is-
the
This
grant.
is 100%. This
Yeah.
is awesome.
Great. Okay, any other questions?
So what if a property owner gets the grant, makes the changes, and it's a while before a tenant moves in? I mean, there's a lot up in the air there. I mean,
Well-
it's a permanent, like, say you replace all the windows
Mm-hmm.
in a building, that's 50 years old. Owning that building and having it available for commercial rent doesn't necessarily mean there's a tenant in there. So if the building owner takes the responsibility to apply for the grant and receive the grant, and that enables them to provide a great location for a tenant, but a tenant comes in and then doesn't stay for 2 years, I mean, that kind of seems like a little bit of a risky thing.
Well, let's hear if it's a business thing or not. Yeah, and maybe Ben.
That's like, oh, I'm
Well-
sorry. Sorry.
Angela,
I'm sitting back here
you want me to?
not talking to
you want me
me.
to
You're
answer
good.
that one?
Go ahead.
So,
I apologize.
let me try to dissect and answer some of your questions there. One is, if you have a tenant who moves in and they decide to move out in 6 months, we're gonna give you credit for that 6 months. So really what you have on the hook now is a year and 6 months that you need to have a business there.
Okay.
Because what we're trying to do is keep someone in that particular space that you own
Right.
for a period of 2 years.
Right.
And if someone moves out in 6 months, we're trying not to have a whole lot of staff time tracking, but we have to because we're given the grant. Now, you bring up a very good point on an empty building that needs improvement, and how long does a city wait until you move a new tenant in? And so, what we're probably going to suggest to the city commission is we give you at least 12 to 24 months to move someone in.
Right.
I think that should be sufficient. That's probably more than enough time.
Right. And
But it is a good point that we don't have.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that safeguard is in there because you can make the improvements and nobody's moved in 5 years.
Right.
And we haven't done any.
After they move in, then that clock starts ticking and you need to have 2 years worth before, say, the owner can just up and sell the building. Because the idea is not for
Right,
the city
yeah.
to put money in
Yeah.
and then the owner sells. So you have to have 2 years worth of a tenant in there before you're off the hook, basically.
Well, that's two different things there. Because if you're the owner and you have no tenant, what we're telling you as a property owner, you need to move somebody in within 2 years.
Right.
or 12 months.
Which is very
Whichever
good.
one the commission decides. We'll make a recommendation to if it's 12 months or 24 months.
Yeah.
We're not sure at the moment.
Yeah.
But when someone does move in, we need to have, well, let me think about that, because the grant was given to you as a property owner, not the business.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're the one who's really obligated. But at the end of the day, you still need a business in there.
Yeah, that's.
So we need to decide how long after you make all your improvements, no tenant is there, tenant moves in, how long would, we're deciding, that tenant needs to stay in that
You could
property.
easily say it by, you cannot, if you sell the building before you have it occupied for 2 full years,
Yeah, selling
then
is
you owe the money back.
right, selling is another item that definitely, if you make the improvements with this grant, you cannot sell in 2 years unless you pay us back.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you didn't tell us that. See, that.
Yeah, well, I'll
Changes
yeah,
a lot.
yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Anything else, Amy?
No, I think he understands what I was getting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, tell them.
this is still a win-win operation, because I own a property, and luckily, I'm in it, so I don't have to worry about getting somebody in. But it benefits me, it benefits the city. Broken windows, we all know, nice new paint. Also, if you wanted to sell the building, it means you're going to get more from it, so you don't mind giving the city back the part. But I just think this is a win-win
Yeah.
for the
Well-
owners, for the city, for all of us.
Yes, with the additional information we just got,
Yeah,
yes, it is.
yeah.
Now, have you spoken to the county about taxation on a program like this? Are they gonna immediately come in after the improvements are made and increase the
Yeah.
taxes on the property?
think
Have you
so.
done any discussion with the
No,
county?
I don't think so. I don't think the, property appraisers, work like that.
No.
Mr. Chair,
Well, they haven't, but this is
Yeah.
a new
I
program.
think permits trigger a.
Let's wait a minute, hold off, please.
I don't have an answer though, for that, but, we'll check.
Okay, because you
Yeah.
can't assume we have a new setup in the county now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yes,
Understand.
any other questions?
Chair,
Yeah,
yes.
Yes.
to answer that question, you're gonna have to have a permit, it's gonna have to go through the building department. As soon as the permit is completed and the final, the taxation, the county will come in.
Yes.
But after a year, correct?
No,
Or-
at time
No,
of
no,
completion, because the building department will send the county.
Oh, the improvement.
It's final, the project is
Okay.
final, and they will come in.
Yeah, so you need to know that before you start selling the project. You can't tell the property owner you're not gonna have any increased taxation on the
No,
property.
they wouldn't say that.
Oh, one thing is, there's two things in life. We all die and we have to pay taxes. So it's gonna happen anyways. I'm kind of used to it. In fact, I put some windows in, they brought my taxes up. It's not a big deal, but what is a big deal is it's very hard for small businesses right now to make it. And what we're doing right now, this leadership in our city, and our city planners, whoever came up with this was absolute genius.
Yeah.
The big part is it's gonna improve our city.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna pay taxes. That's what I want. I want us to pay more taxes so we can help pay our police better or help fix our streetlights. I mean, I have no problems paying taxes. Hopefully no
Just
one
want
else.
to get something good for it.
I
Wanna
guess
get
the
some-
point was that caveat needs to be considered in the language of the program, because we've had two different answers from two different members of staff. One said, no, they're not gonna retax the property until 12 months or a year, and the other way.
But really,
And it's gonna be 12 minutes
but
after
who,
the permit goes in.
but,
And I'm a general contractor, and I pull permits all the time. And just as soon as the project is completed, the city comes in, gives the final on whatever you're doing, and the county
Yeah.
automatically comes and visits you.
Yeah.
it's a
Now, you
standard.
don't get charged for that until your next tax bill.
There you go, and
Technically,
there you go.
But
Yeah,
they do
because
come in and
because there's an
evaluate
assessment
the
that's already made.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that
anybody that
year.
improves their property knows that's gonna happen. Every
Yeah.
time you get a permit, you know, oh, it's going up.
Well, I'm sure, we hope everybody knows, but there'll always be one person who said, because it's not included in the program, I didn't know about it. Yes,
Well,
sir.
the point is, it's not in our wheelhouse of the city of Daytona Beach, it's the county that taxes, is that correct?
Correct.
Right, and we won't say that in our document that your taxes are gonna go up, because we don't make that determination.
We don't make,
Yeah, we wouldn't put that in our document.
No, but what you would put in is the process that the county shares with you that
No,
they're gonna
no,
follow
no, we wouldn't.
after, you're not gonna do that.
If you don't know that, then
Well, I think anybody who pulls a permit knows that.
Right.
If you've done one, you
Yeah.
know there's gonna be a knock on your door. I mean, it's just, that's the way the county operates.
I have the county circling by my project right now.
I think this is a wonderful program. You've heard nothing but really
Yes.
positive feedback
Yes.
from us. And maybe we're fooling around with some of the details now that we shouldn't, but it is a consideration that I think you need to at least look at.
No, we appreciate the comments.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly, y'all have some very good questions. Thank you.
And I make the notes about the time, and I make sure that it's included, at least
Somewhere, you know.
explain.
Yes, ma'am.
So any other questions?
We're-
I have one final, just for clarification for me. I'm a property owner. I love this opportunity to upgrade my building.
Amen.
Yes.
And then I don't get a tenant for 2 years. What is the situation now after 2 years? What happens? Am I allowed to sell? Do I have to get a tenant in there to get the money, or does the money come initially? The grant?
The money comes initially because you are going to apply for the grant.
Right.
Okay, so Ken said that.
Yeah, I think we need to put some provisions
Some
in there that
provisions.
you request an extension,
Mm-hmm.
and that will cover that.
Yeah, because the amounts you guys are talking, I see a lot of that activity possibly happening, and then the guy, oh, it's 24 months, I can sell this at a profit.
Well, yeah, Mr. Biddle.
not if they never have
Yes.
a tenant in there.
I think,
Well, that's my question, if there's no tenant in there,
You pay it back.
do they have to give the money back?
Yep.
If no tenant ever comes in there?
yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
that makes sense to me.
That's
because
what we
you just
were
can't hand
told,
people
but-
money and have them scam
Right.
our taxpayers out of
And
our.
This is to
Okay,
get that
all right.
activity going.
Just one more on that same note. If I'm the owner and 2 years comes, tenant stays there 6 months, and the guy sells the building and the tenant's still there, then he still gets, who gets the grant? How does that work?
You sell the building after the tenant was there for 6
6
months.
months.
And
As
the
long as
tenant
the
wants to
tenant-
stay,
As long as that tenant stays there for another year and a half, we're good.
okay.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, those improvements, I'm believing, was because you had the tenant there and you need to improve the building.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think
And that's the easiest way with all the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
You got a tenant in there, we're happy with the tenant. You got 6 months in there, do another year and a half, we're done.
Well, as long as your landlords understand that and they don't move a tenant out because they can get more rent for the space now that it's been renovated, you have to look, I mean, real estate's a very interesting
It doesn't have to
phenomenon.
be the same tenant, it just has to remain occupied.
Occupied,
Somebody else
exactly.
moves something back in,
Yeah.
still.
Yes,
Well, that's-
yes.
Yeah, but we're getting, again, two different answers to the same question. I think as long as there's a tenant in there, under whatever circumstances, the program is still intact.
His question was the existing tenant.
Right.
And if the existing tenant stays for another year and a half, we're good. But the same thing applies with what Amy was saying. If they change, tenants, someone has to do a year and a half.
Right.
Right.
If he's only in there 6 months, if he's in a year, it's a year. If
Yeah.
he's in a year and a
Yeah.
half. Yeah, we understand that, okay.
Okay.
Any other, we'll hear all of this, I think, in the final draft. Yeah, Mr. Biddorf, anything?
No, all my questions were answered, that was my main concern. So
Okay.
my colleague here
I'm good.
found it.
Okay.
So I appreciate you.
Yeah, I think it's it's a process that's developing, right? I mean, there are gonna be changes, improvements, and additions and deletions as you move forward. I'm sure there will be, and we'll be very excited about hearing
Yeah.
them.
Well, I hope not a lot because I have property owners waiting for this grant
Yeah,
already. So I have 2 on Main Street, on Grand Avenue, I have Grandview. So I mean, we have 1 in downtown. So I'm excited.
No applications yet.
No applications because I haven't done the presentation. No.
come on, no, let's try and keep the conversation down, please. Yes, ma'am.
So that's conclude my presentation for this item.
Okay.
I also,
Any additional questions before we move on this item? We're going to get the whole package back for us to look at and give a final vote on. Is that correct? No, we voted on these 2 new additional items in it.
well, you make a recommendation, yes, so I can go to present it to the CRA. But again,
We have to make a recommendation now, is what she was saying, because if not, it's not gonna go in front of the commission.
I'm sorry, I don't recall if they've actually voted on it, though, as opposed to just making the motion. and second.
We haven't voted on the whole package.
No, they
We
haven't.
do not know what the whole package contains
And
yet.
before you vote, Mr. Chair, you've got to take public.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, anything else from staff?
know about this item.
Okay, and that's the complete report, then we will entertain staff, pardon me, we will entertain
Public comments.
guests who care to speak on this issue or any issue so far.
No, no.
No or yes?
Just this issue, Mr. Chair.
On just this issue? Okay, we'll take it issue by issue then. Okay, if you would have a seat, ma'am.
Thank
We'll
you.
invite,
Yes, thank you very much.
we'll have Mr. John, why don't you start off since you got your form in first? John Nicholson.
That's for the end of the meeting.
Oh, the end of the
This is for
meeting,
this
okay.
item.
Welcome, Ms.
Ann?
Ruby. Good evening.
Good evening, Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. So I think it needs to be clearly stated what your changes are that you want to make, because I'm not clear on that. I think that would be good if someone would outline what those are. I also, my favorite thing to do is make work for you guys. Given all the questions that you've had over tenant, not tenant, move in, move out, pay back, don't pay back, I think as you present this to the public, it wouldn't be part of the approval process, but as you present it to the public, it might be good to have little diagrams and pictures that kind of talk about that. What happens if, because people will get confused and you'll end up explaining it 1,000 times.
Good idea.
So if you could, do little half-page things that outline the different scenarios that you could possibly think of. That would be my suggestion.
Thank
But I would be interested in knowing exactly what the changes are that you're proposing.
Thank you, Ann.
Well, I don't think there are changes as much as there'll be additions to the,
Yes, but
to
I'd be
the flow of
interested to know
information.
exactly what they are.
Yeah, we would too. We would. Okay, anything else on this item? Mr. Nicholson?
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. What exactly are you planning with this? Is the idea to improve Main Street? 12 years ago, Kelly White came with a program to redesign, get an architect in, come up with a plan, and all of Main Street would be done at one time. They would all be given grants. It would all be done because if you ask somebody, well, would you take $20,000 out of your pocket to redo your facade? They're going to say, no, I don't want to do that. However, if we did it, it would all get done. So is the idea to change the look of Main Street? Because as I walk down Main Street for whatever event it is, you look in and the carpet's been there since 1950. It's worn, it's terrible, or the linoleum, worn down to the cement. Do we want to keep that there forever? Because the landlord could care less. As long as he's getting rent, who cares? So is the idea to fix it up? And if it's the idea to fix it up, then give him the grant and get it done. I'm a little bit worried about the 2 years time frame. This is Main Street, for God's sake. Any of you ever heard of Bike Week? They open up for 2 weeks, and they're closed for 6 months They open up for a week and they're closed for another 6 months. That's Main Street. So how do you get, are you going to wait the 12 years or 14 years for them to get the 2 years?
No, no.
I mean, is
There's
that-
a limit, there's a limit.
No, no. Is it? No, it's not. Nowhere is said calendar year. It just says they have to be in there 2 years. So what happens if somebody is there 6 months and the guy sells, but the tenant is still there? She says, oh, well, it's still going on. Well, the person that sold is taking that money and they're gone. The new owner doesn't know that he's got to pay back the $80,000.
No, John.
Because no. If the gentleman leaves, all right, what happens? The man takes the money. He's not going to sit there and leave it in escrow. If he sells the building, he's gone. So if somebody's there 6 months, you say, oh, well, they'll stay another year and a half. Well, what if they don't? What if
John?
they stay 6 months and they leave?
John, can
There
I?
are problems.
Can I?
Gary? No!
Can I suggest
No!
something?
No, Gary. You always interrupt me. All right?
Oh.
So I got 32 seconds. Please let me speak. All right? There's a problem with the concept that we're going to sit there and say, you're going to have to pay us back.
Yes.
That's got to be worked on a little bit more so that we know exactly who pays back and when. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay, John, before you leave, I think your comments are excellent, but they should be directed to the staff, not to the advisory board. We haven't even seen the finished project yet. So anything you could do, I'm sure, would be helpful. Okay. Anyone else who would like to?
Well, Mr. Chair, I just want to be clear. Staff is asking for the board to approve this program tonight.
Yes.
I don't think the plan is that it would then come back to the board,
This plan is drafted in this
as it's been described.
handout, or
Yeah.
as described.
With, Mr. Chair, let me
Yeah, would you review, please, quickly, the salient points?
Yeah,
that-
remember that you had, on my last presentation, you had the full package.
Right.
The only additions that I'm making are these ones. Entryways and flood mitigation work with these 2 eligible activities. The business must remain in operation for at least 2 years, and we are going to review this, so to have a clear understanding, what if the tenants move before the 2 years, who is going to pay
Right.
back? And then we added 2 work estimates, and they have to provide the project budget, and that's it. We don't have any changes, any other addition of
Okay.
from what you already had from my previous presentation.
Okay, is the board comfortable with?
I make a motion we approve as presented.
I second.
We've got a motion and a
And a
second.
second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please
Aye.
do so by
Aye.
saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Board comments, I guess. We're at board comments.
Public comment.
Public comments. We have just one person, Mr. Nicholson.
John Exon, 413 North Avenue Avenue. I don't know how many of you walked Main Street for Bike Week. There's about a half dozen properties that are empty. Several have been empty for more than 1 year. It looks terrible for Bike Week because it gives the impression that it's dying, all right? It is decreasing. A lot of us old folks are dying out. So the bikers, say, Harley Davidson event, most of the Harley Davidson are older. So we have to be cognizant of the fact that they're empty. I think it is important for us to find ways to get these buildings rented, whether it's either just for Bike Week or for whatever reason. Better that it's year-round. That was an argument 30 years ago with Mike Shallow. We wanted to have it year-round. But at least get somebody in there for Bike Week, Oktoberfest. So whatever the owner does or what needs to do to get it rented, bend the rules or whatever, but we need to have a successful bike week. It is very good for the city and for us. We have lost 6 major events from Beachside since I've been here.
Absolutely, yeah.
We no longer have Turkey Rod Run on Beachside. Remember, we always had it at Bel Air Plaza. People would take lawn chairs, sit on A1A, watch the cars go by. They're gone. All right? We've lost that. We've lost Spring Break. We've lost BCR, although thank God it was not a good event. And we've lost NASCAR. When I was here, NASCAR would have one of their drivers at all the hotels. So people could go to a hotel if they like X, Y, and Z driver. Now NASCAR is not on Beachside at all. Everything is at one Daytona or the race or the track itself. So we are losing our event. The city, for 17 years under Jim Chisholm, we got nothing. We got one, the renovation of the boardwalk. Remember that, with several screw-ups. Then we got A1A with several screw-ups. Otherwise, we're not really moving on Beachside, and we're definitely not moving on Main Street.
Yes.
All right, there's one building that was renovated, actually it was torn down because it was falling apart, on A1A in Main Street. So we're not really developing Main Street, basically, and it's our own fault. Having events on Main Street, Beach Street has goals. It's a company, they advertise, they do digital, they do all kinds of stuff, emails. I understand people like Al, but he's not a professional. So I'm asking you to think of putting out an RFP to get a professional to get events on Main Street. I mean, St. Patrick's Day is coming up. What are we doing? Nothing.
Watch your time, John.
I know. Just, it ended.
John,
Thank you.
John, can I ask you one question, sir? I'm sorry, I just wanted to ask you
Yes,
one
sir.
question, because it's very informative, and I appreciate you. As I said, we know it's Beachside, and I know I've talked to many people trying to bring them in, and it is very hard to start a small business today. Do you think, in your opinion, this is a good thing? But we're, with the grant process, what's your opinion?
Well, it depends, as I asked,
Oh, gosh,
what's your
yes.
objective? Is it to beautify, to make it, to upgrade Main Street?
Well,
You need that.
well, it's
Looks
just not,
good.
it's, I don't think it's just Main Street, I think it's the South Atlantic.
Right.
It's the, which one's, which one? Beach Street. You got East ISB, which is it's like a desert.
But basically, this is Main Street, it's gonna be, where it's gonna be used.
Yeah.
All right, I don't expect to see it on Boardwalk, I don't expect to see it on A1A. There may be one or two, but the major emphasis that we need is Main Street.
Okay.
A1A is
Okay.
All right,
Yeah, Mrs.
Thank you.
Humphrey, thank you.
I want to say one thing. Part of the problem was caused by the city years ago. We had Kay's Restaurant. We had all kinds of businesses, drugstores, everything on Main Street. The city decided to change the pipes. Partway through it, it was the county's position. They had to, Kay's went out of business. The restaurant across the street, the drugstores went. The only reason I survived is people could come up the side streets on either side of me, Oleander, and other than that, every place, the flower shop, which is now a tattoo place, by the way, they stay open year-round. They're a real addition. They're real nice people in there.
Beauty salon.
Yeah, so, you know, it really hurt when the city did that. It took a year.
Over a year.
Monster piles of sand, and places went out of business one after another. Okay.
But this,
Thank you, Helen.
Do you think the cities should be
No, John.
responsible for,
wait,
I can't talk to her?
yeah, you can, yeah.
Ask
Yeah,
a question,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
can't respond.
No, she was not talking to you, she was talking to the board.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, good point, but it's just not,
Thank you, John.
thank you, John. It's just not there. The same thing happened on East ISB years ago. I'm talking,
Yeah.
it broke, that's why we have a desert. There used to be multiple businesses. There's gonna be great things.
Yes.
We have this is a whole new city. There's a new staff, there's a new sheriff in town. I laugh at when I tell people there's a new city manager. You know, Angela Ken is here. There's we have a fresh new group with fresh new ideas and fresh new hope in Daytona. This is
Hear,
why I'm
hear.
excited.
Here, yeah.
Thank you.
And I think, speaking for the board, I think we're very receptive, but we take our cues from the staff. I mean, we are not a board that initiates policy for the city. We're a board that relies on our professional staff, who brings suggestions to this board that have to be acted upon legally by this board in order to move forward. So, I mean, we have to get the dynamic, I think, correct. We're very open, and I thank you very much, because this program answers gripes that we've been hearing since I've been involved in this board. And when I was chaired the Economic Development Board, gripes we heard for 5 years. This program is addressing an awful lot of those things, so congratulations to the staff. Okay, should we move on to board comments then? And we'll start.
I
this end.
I
Yes,
have
sir.
a comment. Actually, it's a question for Angela. How are we doing with the signage for the best boardwalk and most famous beach? Did you make a decision on something?
Well, we fix it, but remember that we had a discussion and we said that we really can use the money for another item, you know, and that we had
Because there were two signs.
two
correct?
signs that are very close, so I kind of left that alone and move on another.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mr. Bedore.
Well, it's hard to, I just wanted to say I'm pleased with everything, and I think that we dwell on the past, what happened to Daytona in the past. We can't fix the past, but we can
Right.
fix today
Right.
and tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here. I think that's why most of us here are, so sorry. That's why most of us are here today. That's why we dedicated our time to be on this board, to be part of this great city, and not to dwell on the past, but let's dwell on today. Because I can tell you, I've lived here for a large amount of my life, and I'm very pleased. We have a receptive city that's trying to tell you yes. Now, I've come up with a lot of different ideas with my properties, and I don't get everything approved, and I don't expect to, because it's just business. But I'm very pleased on what I see with our city manager and our city leadership, and with all my coworkers. Actually, not coworkers, my associates on this board. I'm very proud to be on this board. You know, especially there's some very great people I get to sit up here with, all of you. And that's it. And thank you.
Amy.
Yes, I wanted to bring up something. I always try to think of something constructive. You know, we talk about what needs to change and so on. So I had a little idea about, I know CRA funds are used after like Bike Week to do cleanup, and, you know, there's a lot of like cleaning things up after Bike Week. So I wonder if it's possible to have sometime before like larger events where there's a little bit of kind of like a clean sweep, maybe in the couple weeks before the event, to go look for, say, a trash pile, or, you know, something close to the event where all these hundreds of thousands of people are coming into town, and some of them might be seeing Daytona for the first time, and we want them to think, you know, well of us at least. Maybe not huge image improvements, but just the simple stuff. And I had some pictures, you know, so these are just quick little shots, but you can see, like, in front of the Blue House, where between the Blue House and the truck, there's a pile of trash there. This is during Bike Week. Okay, so this is just like less than 1 block south of Main Street on Grandview, and the pile has weeds growing through it. It's a vacant property where a condemned house was taken down this past year, I think. So there's cars pulled on it, parking. There was an RV parked there overnight, a couple nights, and there's a big pile of trash. So it kind of looks like a vacant lot that nobody cares about. So people just kind of slide on there and make use of it. So in my example, like in the week or two prior to a big event, maybe somebody would come by and check a little box and ask Waste Pro to come clean it up, or Public Works, just kind of scoop that stuff up, maybe put up a little no parking, yellow stake in the ground, simple stuff to where when somebody comes down, it looks like somebody, it mattered to someone
Could we then look
to make
into
this,
that?
well, I'm not finished.
Okay, well, on that one item.
Yeah, yeah.
Could
So
we-
this is my whole item.
Oh, okay.
Basically, I just wanted to show a
Sure.
couple of the pictures. So the one on
No,
the
no, you
right
made
is the
your
same
point.
spot, and then here, this, oh, the one on the right is the same spot from a different view. And then, now this one shows trash put out. Now, I think that is actually still there, I want to say.
Oh
But it
my
was out
gosh.
prior to Bike Week, and it's someone's garbage, so Waste Pro could come by and tag it, maybe, and come back. There's a process for that. But if we were looking at it right before a big event, we might say, hey, this needs to go now. Waste Pro, you know, get it done. And then it doesn't look like that
Okay.
during the bigger event. So, and there's only a couple more pictures, Gary, hang in there. I'll go quickly.
No, this is good.
The one on the left is a grease thing behind Cruisin' Cafe. It doesn't have a blockage, you know, I mean, there are people coming on that street to park for the event. They have a big parking lot, they do pay parking, and that's what they see across from there. So I don't know if those things are supposed to have a shield of some kind.
Yeah.
Okay, no, but is there any code violation for having one that looks that disgusting?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
some sort of, okay, so that's something that could be checked off. And obviously, these things, some of these things need to be handled throughout the year, but
Yeah.
if there was a little, like a little care right before a big event, like Jeep Beach is coming, you know, if someone were to drive around the area wherever they
Yeah.
think most of the Jeep people are gonna be, kind of clean it up, or in the CRA, I guess. But then the one on the right is another pile with, you
Yeah.
know, furniture by a dumpster, and that
Yeah.
dumpster is almost always open.
Yes, yes,
You've
that
seen
is.
that one.
Yes,
It's right
that's a
on
mess.
Harvey.
Yes,
It's for that apartment building, but it backs onto someone else's property,
Yeah.
or it fronts on it.
Yeah.
So like the poor people in this building have to look at that,
yeah.
handle that. Next, if we're there anymore, or was that it? Okay.
Oh.
So this is, I mean, I know there's homeless people on the sidewalk, this is right down on Coates, but we have, you know, just look at that trash can, it's kind of
Yeah.
falling apart. It sort of just gives an idea that nobody really cares about that street. Those kind of things could be cleaned up. And then that post office sign, just kind of threw that in there because
Yeah.
I see it every time I drive by. I don't know if anybody else notices this, but that's
Yeah.
been like that for a long time. That whole building, there's a big,
Yes,
the
yeah.
front pipe on it is all
Yes,
cracked.
yeah, that's
That's
true.
our post office.
Yeah,
You know? Can we clean it up? And then Tiernanog has like a tarp in the window. I don't know if that's something that's been going, you know, it's like in the works as a code violation or whatever, but it's sort of unsightly for our visitors. And those are just a couple really quick examples. 'Cause
Okay, thank you.
I see them, you know.
Let me ask
because
you
they're-
whether or not you think code should, I mean, should it be the penalty, or should we try and clean it up, or both?
both.
Okay, I do have an answer for that. I think, you know, code violations sometimes take a long time, and I do understand there's a process. There's a notification,
Yeah.
there's the time.
You said a lot of
you
these
get
have
some-
been there for weeks.
Yes, exactly. So
Months.
if that's,
Or months,
you know,
yeah.
somebody needs to drive around and say, has this already been addressed? If not, let's handle it. And in the, you know, the instance of that pile of trash, I know by experience, if I call someone at Public Works, and there was a huge pile very close to that recently, and they were gracious enough to get Waste Pro to come out with a truck and pick it up. And
All you have to do
I
is
don't know
call
who got billed.
All you have to do is call Waste Pro. they'll
Well, but this should be something the city should take
Just do.
proactive
Yeah.
action on. I could
Well-
patrol my street and be like.
Well,
point out all the
let's
things,
go
but-
one level down now. Who in the city?
I'm done.
You have to, there has to be some, you can't just say the city needs to do it. I mean,
Mr. Chair, we know who.
okay,
Yeah, we take care of it.
okay.
But
And-
very good point. Very good point.
And
Yes, Mr.
Excellent, excellent point, but what about getting volunteers to help code enforcement, where we could go out and help code enforcement, make them aware of these things? So we take the responsibility on ourselves, like people like us that care, that sit up here, and we take our nights up here to sit up here to do better. we get people to,
I do that.
I know you do.
Yeah.
You?
Yes.
Okay, then there's our volunteer.
No, what I'm trying to say is, no, what I'm trying to say is like it's more direct, so we have a direct connection with code enforcement, so we teach others how to do what we're doing. You know what I mean?
I do that.
You do? Oh,
Okay,
well, good.
thank you.
Well, Mike,
We're having
You do that too. You give
a
me
love
the
affair
number.
over here. All right, thank you very much. A lot of the piles are huge, so the volunteer might be able to make a call, but you can't have, the insurance liability on something like that is astronomical. That's all we need, is a pile to fall on a child or something, because the mother's there helping, trying to help clean it up. So there are all kinds of things you have to look at, but Amy's point is a very good one. It seems unkempt. And I think the chamber, who is involved in these events, they should be made aware of this too. I think they would cooperate with us tremendously. It doesn't benefit them to have the city look nasty during their premier special events. So, very good point. Thank you.
I commend her for taking pictures. I'm sorry that I didn't do it. On Harvey, there is a wall that was very dangerous. For a long time, I was fearful kids from their school, but anyway, they have been working on it.
Yeah.
But for weeks, nothing has happened, and there is a mountain of sand basically in the roadway there, and we've had big rainstorms, which means it's going into the drain. Why are they allowed to just let the sand? I thought there should be
Okay.
some way.
This is another item then that maybe
Yeah.
our colleagues on the staff can help us with. Maybe if we report to the staff these issues, one telephone call might get it done faster.
Yeah.
You and I could spend a month trying to figure out it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Anything else, Helen?
No.
Okay.
if I may,
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to let you know that we see what you see. I drive by twice a week. I have maps with vacant lots. I have maps with parking. I have maps, all type of maps that you can imagine. I have it, but it is a process, and I do send the emails and I follow up. It's not like we are just overseeing these issues. We know that we have those issues, and we are going to address it.
Okay.
The other thing is that the city is going to launch a program that is called See It, Click It. So that you will be able to, if you see something that is happening, you can just report it through that portal, and it will send it directly to the person in charge. If it's code enforcement issue, they are going to have the notifications. So that's something that we are
Terrific.
doing as well.
That'll help a lot. Okay. Anything else, Helen?
No, I'm done.
Yes, sir.
This is my first meeting, and it's been interesting. All of the comments. I'm glad to be invited.
Thank
So I look forward to it.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yes, sir.
You've been on other boards, a lot of other boards.
A lot of other boards.
The only comments I have is I was a little concerned about the fact that our city is going paperless, because I'm not willing to download on my computer a 30-page proposal by someone who's building a parking garage, says he's building a parking garage in order to build a dirt parking lot. And paperless with this board is going to be difficult, I think, because of the amount of information that you very kindly pass on to us, the whole full application. So I hope paperless will have some exceptions, like the packets we need to get in to review prior to our meeting.
Yes. May I comment on that?
Sure.
Or, so on this meeting, I was going to ask you if you prefer going paperless, because we are using the same system as the commissioners are doing, but it's really up to you.
Well, maybe some do and some don't. I really have a problem because I like to download it. If I sat on my computer, had the time to, do that, that's one system, but I like the paper. So I would prefer to have it mailed to me.
Yes,
Or
and
I'll
we
come
don't
by
have.
and pick it up. I mean, it really.
No, we don't have any problem with that.
Okay.
I
How
just
about-
wanted to give you the option that if you don't need the
Let's go around the
papers.
table. Let's go around the, yes, sir.
Well, you know, it's like, I'll just use for example, the planning board, you know, needless to say, we can't have, we can't have it paperless. I mean, there's maps, there's plans,
Here too.
and I'm definitely not gonna download it.
Okay, all right. Helen,
Thank you.
No, I like it like this.
okay. Amy,
I'd like to receive it digitally, and then if I saw something that I need printed, I could ask. Is that okay? Because I'd just be happy to get it.
okay. If that's all right with the staff, that's certainly all right with us. Yes, sir, Mr. Bitter.
Getting the paper's fine, but whatever makes everybody happy. I don't mind downloading, make your life easier, but I prefer paper, but it doesn't. I'm not-
Okay.
I
Yes.
prefer paper, but I think we could reduce the amount.
Yes.
Like when you have a public hearing, I don't need to see everybody's name and address and stuff. If I need that, I'll ask
Okay,
for something, because that's a lot of paper.
yeah, okay. I have a couple more items as, under Commissioner comments. One is, if we look at our success rate with the city commission on really some issues that are very critical to the city, like the changing of zoning from business professional, after it's taken us 15 years to get a business professional zoning block on the city, someone comes in with an application that maybe in 3 or 5 years is gonna build a parking garage, but right now he'll build a parking lot, and we grant, or we vote against it, and it passes by the city. And I had a chance to run into my commissioner, had a chance with him, and he seems to think that maybe we need to be a little more muscular in our presentation of why we vote unanimously against a project, because I'm not sure it might show 6-0, you know, we voted against that zoning change. But by the time it gets to the commission, without a member of this board doing a presentation or being there to answer questions by the commission, it seems to become a political rather than a policy decision. I'm just using that example, because it particularly bothered me the way the whole thing went down. And I joined the majority and voted against it, but yet it was passed by the commission. And I can't, for the life of me, understand why. And it's not the only one. I think on a majority of the projects, we voted 6-0 or 5-1 against were passed. And there seems to be a vacuum of information between our discussions here and the information that the city commission has as it's making a final decision in public. And I guess I'm wondering if we should ask our president or our chairman to attend the city commission meetings when we have an item of such importance as a zoning change on a major piece of property on the Beachside, where the change will, I mean, we have been fighting to have business and professional move back to the Beachside. And here we go and give the property away. I think the discussions by this board were excellent on that project. I think we asked them an awful lot of very, very good questions, and they didn't have a lot of very good answers. Now I know why why the applicant had the attitude he had, because I think it had become a political rather than a policy decision. But I'm concerned that there's too wide a vacuum between decisions, suggestions, recommendations made by this board by the time it gets to the commission. Now, I know other boards voted against it as well. I understand that. I'm just using that as an example, but it's only one of several. We sat here as a board and we saw a proposal that came to us to put a high-rise condominium on a residential piece of property at the corner of Silver Beach, where the ramp to the beach would be used to get the parking out of their parking garage. I mean, there were all kinds of indignities in that proposal, and we voted against it. And while it was slightly modified, it passed with some modifications. The modifications didn't come back to us. It went ahead forward. And I'm wondering if maybe, I don't know if the staff is, I haven't been to a commission meeting in a while, I don't know if the staff is actively involved in sharing with the city commission the feelings of the advisory boards who are bringing these proposals forward. I don't want to put the staff in a position to speak for the citizens who are appointed by the city commissioners, but my city commissioner seems to think there might be a little bit of a vacuum there, that he didn't quite understand, I think, the time we spent in discussing some issues. You know, I have said that I think the Land Development Code, the new one, in many areas is excellent. But I think not having height limits and not having limits on setbacks on major projects are a major problem. And I have asked, and I'm gonna suggest, I had no idea I would be chairman tonight, but under comments, I'm gonna suggest that we might consider recommending to the city commission that they look at some amendments to the Land Development Code. I don't think that the fight over that condominium was very good for our city. I mean, it had a lot of angst and a lot of friction that really needn't be there. And I think the commission would help, you know, having some guidelines would help them make decisions for the citizens. So I mentioned it briefly, the height limits, the setbacks, really bothered me, the zoning changes, and I don't know, you know, if the new setup with the new Land Development Code has any room for a member of this board, our chairman. I would feel confident with our chairman being present at a city commission meeting when there's an element there that we have voted unanimously against. I think I would like to see the time we spent on deciding that maybe we could do, the applicant could do better, needs to be shared with the board.
We have a comment there.
I have a comment. If I
Do
may.
we have
I don't
another-
want to interrupt Mr. Libby during his comment, but I have a,
Do we have another? I thought I had two from John and one from Ann Ruby, and that's all the public comment we had. Did somebody,
Miss-
pardon? Well, Amy, I think I have your form here, and I don't think it was for more than one item, was it?
Well, go ahead.
Oh, Amy.
I didn't
Or
want to
Ann,
interrupt your
pardon me,
board.
Ann Ruby.
Oh, what she was saying is she was holding her hand up to make a comment.
Oh, certainly. Well, let me finish my public comments, and then we certainly will open the floor to others. I guess I will leave it there. I'm not particularly happy, but I understand better now that the county is doing the road work in front of the Gateway Restaurant, maybe why they didn't take the gateway down, tear the gateway down, even though he could have had 3 or 4 months of the expectation of parking that was part of why we granted that project to move forward, so that he could get a certificate of occupancy and open his restaurant, Dr. Duva. But I understand now a little better when I see the mess there. I had to fight my way through that intersection, and I can understand maybe that might have been a reason why the applicant still hasn't complied with the conditions on which we granted his moving forward. Okay, any other comment, Amy?
I don't mean to be argumentative, but I will say, this board voted unanimously for Silver Beach, except for me. And I did appear before the city commission and shared what our discussion was. And then the parking lot was also, you know, I was at the commission meeting when that was first presented, and I spoke and I said, I'm the only one at the, you know, on the Beachside Redevelopment Board that is here to speak. So I generally like to go and share with them what we talked about.
Well, I've
But
had some
I want to
problems
make a
with that.
suggestion, a very simple suggestion, and that is that something that we discuss here, especially the heavier things. Don't move to city commission without our minutes, because that's what I've seen happen. They get
Yes.
there, and unless they watched our
Yes.
discussion, they don't have a copy of our minutes because we haven't approved the minutes until
Yes.
our next meeting.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna ask staff that, what is in the packet of a commissioner on a project like
Well,
either one of these two projects?
Well,
Do
we-
they have the draft minutes?
we do provide a staff report and a draft minute with our approval to the planning board.
but
What about the commission?
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
The
Because
commission
they
gets-
have to pass it
But
along.
if we haven't approved the minutes, you know, I think, I mean, as good as the minutes are at times, I think it helps to have, like you said, it helps to have someone speak. And, you know, I've generally gone and spoken at the commission, but now the parking lot thing is coming up on March 20th. It has not been approved yet, just so you know. So if you would like to go and speak on that,
I'm not the chairman, I think
it doesn't matter, you can speak.
Well, no, I can speak as a citizen, but I'm not gonna stand up and say I'm a member of an advisory board and speak for that board. You cannot do that.
Oh, why
That's a-
not?
that's
You can't get up
serious.
and say, oh, no, I've gotten up and said, I'm a member of the Beachside Redevelopment Board, and, you know, I'd like to speak, I'd like to speak on
I'm
this
very
item.
nervous about that because we did not ask you to go as a member of the Beachside
No.
Redevelopment Board. You went as a citizen.
A citizen, yeah, and knowledgeable citizen at that.
As a matter of fact, thank you for bringing that up because I think I'd like Ben maybe to share with us, you know, you shouldn't have a card that says Amy Pyle, member of Beachside Redevelopment Board. That's not good
I
either.
don't.
Yeah, if I can, I don't think it's really a legal issue when a member gets up and articulates that they happen to be a member of the board.
It's how they
It's
do it.
it's a policy issue among you as board members and your fellow peers, whether you're concerned about a member purporting to represent the board's view. But it's a policy issue, it's not a legal issue.
What do you think? I mean, is it okay with everybody if you go and speak as a citizen and mention you're a member of the board?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's a positive thing that
Yeah.
Agree.
we're a member
I
of the
second
board.
that,
Yeah.
yes.
Absolutely. Because it's gonna carry more weight
It's,
than just saying.
would it carry more weight if the
Well,
chairman of the
obviously,
board
I'm a
went?
citizen.
Doesn't-
and
doesn't matter.
I say it carries more weight.
Yeah, I would like to, maybe, you know, maybe we'll ask, maybe our chairman doesn't have the time, but these are very important issues.
well, not to,
Yes, sir. Mr.
not,
Pitt.
not to be argumentative, and, you know, it is, the thing is that we all, each one of us as board members, we care. And where Amy showed that she took out of her day to show up there to represent those neighbors that I was so upset that they were putting this,
Yeah.
you know, next to. And that, you know, I commend her for. There's no, you know, would definitely stand by my colleague for that.
Oh, I do too, but as an individual, as a citizen. And, I mean, I'm sure Amy's a member of a lot of organizations, but when she isolates just the Beachside Redevelopment Board, it
she's-
suggests something.
Well, she's not, I'm sorry.
So it's okay. No, it's okay. It's okay. What I'm trying to say is it's all in how she when she's saying, "Hey, I happen to be a member of the board," she's not
Yeah.
Well, she
saying
didn't
all
say,
of us.
she didn't say I happen to be a member of the
But
board.
that's sort of how she said it. That's
Yeah.
what I understood from
I
the
only
verbiage.
say
No,
it
no, no,
to
no,
let
that's-
them know that I was in on the discussion that happened, and I share with them the discussion that we had. And I've never gone and said, you know, I've never
Exactly.
spoken on an issue that we weren't unanimous on. I will say that.
Well, I myself have a problem unless this board, you suggest you'd like to go and we appoint you to go and represent us.
No.
I think that's the way to do it. I don't think we can break and run. I think that's,
Well-
that, you're heading to some real serious
Yeah,
problems.
it's possible, yes, but at least she cared enough to show.
I agree, and she goes,
No one
she
else
ran for city commission, she goes to a lot of meetings.
too.
And I support that completely.
Well, I'll just tell you right now, if I want to say something to the commission, I'm going to go and say it. If
Yes.
you want me to not mention that I'm on the redevelopment board, fine. But they
No,
know that I'm on the redevelopment
Yeah.
Well,
board.
then you don't have to say it.
But I can make public comment.
Yeah,
Gary,
of
you can't
course.
tell me not to.
Well, I never said you couldn't make a
So let's
public
just
comment.
go back to the positives on this. okay? Let's say we have an item that we discuss heavily, and we want to make sure the city knows about our discussion, then let's, at that time, choose someone to bring it to the city
Well, the
commission.
chairman should be, it's
Okay.
the chairman's job to do that, and our chairman used to do that. I cannot tell you
Okay.
the nights I spent.
But we can
at the city.
choose someone to go and speak on it. How about
Yeah.
that?
But
Yeah.
I like the fact that
I
she
do
cares
too.
enough
I
to
do
go.
too. No, and I've asked Amy,
let's not
I've
limit
asked Amy
her.
after she's gone, you know, to
I-
give me a brief.
I second that.
Yes.
No violation of public
I've only
service.
shared it in the meeting. I have never
Yeah,
shared anything
and I'm
with
not
you
picking on you,
aside.
Amy. I know you've gone. You and I have,
And I'll continue to.
well, I
when
think
it
you
means
should.
something
I
to
think
me.
you should go. I think, but I don't think you should go representing this board unless we ask you to.
I don't think she's representing us.
That's all.
Just-
Well, I didn't say she did. I'm just saying I don't think that any of us should. And
Yeah,
I think the chairman.
I make a motion that we're allowed to go to a meeting and say you're part of a board member, but not say,
You represent.
I represent the board member.
Absolutely.
That's
well,
the way it should be.
I don't think
I
you need to
second
be.
that.
That is the city's policy.
Because you may have a dissenting vote and some other people agree, and so you can't represent the whole board.
Well,
Correct.
yes, that is correct, but, you know, policy is one thing and politics is another. Oh, yeah. So I think we just have to be careful, you know, very, very careful in how we represent.
I personally like the fact that if I do go to a commission meeting, I'll say I am a member
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
redevelopment
Yeah.
board.
Yes.
And my views on the project. And that's
But,
simple.
yes, and what you probably might consider saying is I am a member of the board, but I'm not representing the board in my comments. I'm here as a citizen.
I don't know if that's necessary.
No.
Well,
As long as I say I'm not representing the board, that's
Yeah. I
self-explanatory.
think
Yeah.
we're splitting
I
hairs.
think that's just pushing it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think it's subject to interpretation from the commission too. And it's not Amy, there are other people who, on other boards, who are very careful on what they say when they stand before the.
Well, I make a motion that we take a vote on it and end this discussion.
What's your motion, sir?
That we're allowed to say we are members of a board if we go to a commission meeting.
Okay, we've got a motion. We have a
Second.
second by Mr. Bidorf. Any more comment? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay. Anything else? Any other comments? Yes, sir.
I'm gonna be fast.
Everybody left.
You know, all boards, your board, when you make a decision here in this board, it usually goes up to the planning board.
Yes,
That's chain of command.
correct.
And, you know, however you vote and how the planning board votes, it's one thing, whether they vote for it, you vote against it, or whatever. But to make sure, the commission has the final say on any voluntary board.
Correct.
And that's what happened with a lot of the things that's come up, with the hotel, condo hotel there on Silver Beach. It was denied by the planning board until they made changes. It was almost 4 months for the changes to come in. The setback requirements was one of the biggest issues.
Yeah.
The height issue. But under the existing codes, they were allowed to go that. Matter of fact, they could have went higher.
I know.
Because the way that the codes say with the parking deck and everything they added to the building, they're allowed to go up so many stories. And the final say was, it was approved.
As
And-
modified.
As modified, and, you know, as the changes go, and where they did meet the standards of the code. So, and then that's when the commission went through it. But what I'm hoping, this was kind of unexpected for me to be here tonight. But if the planning board would like for me to continue this, we supposed to get a report from this board.
There,
And-
From the staff.
that's the solution right there.
Well, that's the way that it's supposed to be, because they always ask, is there a report
Yeah,
from the Beachside Development?
yeah.
It's him.
And unless a person comes here and makes notes, sometimes the minutes of your meeting don't get to us, even though that we're 2 weeks afterwards. So I will make a presentation of what I've heard tonight,
Excellent.
Yeah.
if they choose for me to be here.
Excellent. That helps, that would help.
That would be nice.
And Amy, I salute, you go to more meetings than anybody I've ever known,
Oh.
other than Ann Ruby.
Ann Ruby's.
Yeah.
She wins that prize.
Okay. Any other comments, anything from staff? Hearing none, shall we adjourn?
Just one more.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for taking
Bring this up,
pictures.
but what we just talked about with the minutes,
Thank you.
if it hasn't been approved for the following meeting, and if we miss a meeting, then it's 2 months over, are they allowed to have our presentation or the minutes of the meeting, even though it hasn't been approved?
Only if they say they have not been approved. They
Absolutely.
can't
So could
present
we-
them as
I
approved.
can't.
Is that okay for you guys?
Is what we do.
Oh, it
Is
is
what-
what you do already?
W-
Oh,
I,
great.
I submitted to the planning department a draft minutes and a staff report.
Thank you, just wanted to.
Yeah.
Because see, I have your minutes from the last meeting
Okay.
here. And so what now?
And welcome as our planning board.
Are you coming back as a member?
He's
I'm not a member of this board.
That's what I'm asking.
No,
represents. the
I
planning.
represent the
you.
planning board.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
But you are
Thank you
words
for
of
showing up here.
wisdom, Which helps.
You are a member of this
Oh,
board.
I
You're,
am?
you're an ex officio member. You're not a voting member, but you're a member.
Yeah.
You're here in your representation to this board from the planning board.
Too many boards.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Anything else? If hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.